Okay, last section for chapter 11. Okay, so on the calendar, it says that we might be going over 11.6, even though you don't have homework in that section. But we are going to stop here with 11.4, and then we will start chapter 12. Okay, so there will be no video for 11.6. Okay, so 11.4, Shifted Conics. So it's pretty much 11, 1, 2, and 3, all in one section where the center is no longer 0, 0. Okay. But if you remember transformations, translations from basic functions like the parent function, and then you just shift it over 3 to the left, 2 up, something like that. So that's basically what we're going to be doing here. Okay, so we're going to be looking at the parabola. Okay, so now you might have your equation look like this instead. Okay, so we didn't have this H and K business before. Okay, whether you have this one or you have the sideways parabola, the shifts are still going to be the same. Okay. All right. So, and remember, this one here is this one on the top here. This one is your regular vertical parabola, and this one here is your sideways parabola. Okay. Because we just went over hyperbolas, so make sure you know the difference. Okay. So when you have it written in either of these forms, it's going to be a shift right, H units, and up K. Okay. So it's always going to be counterintuitive. So when it's -2, then that's to the right. If it's -5, then that's up. Okay. But if it says x plus 2, okay, then again, you go kind of in the opposite direction. Okay. Let's take, and we'll do examples of all of these. And then for the ellipse, same thing. We only have one equation there. So x minus h squared over a squared plus y minus k squared over b squared equals 1. Okay. So again, you're just going to shift it h units. Okay. You're going to shift right h and up k. If you have positive instead of minus, then you would go the other direction. Okay, hyperbola. Okay, so we have two equations here. So we have x minus h squared over a minus y minus k squared over b squared equals 1. So we have that one, and we have it where the y is first, or positive. Okay. Okay, so whichever one you have, it's still going to be a shift. Horizontal is always under the x, so, or with the x. So it's going to be shift right h and up k. Okay, so the horizontal shift is always with the x, the vertical shift is always with the y. Okay, that's for all of these. Okay, horizontal shift is with the x, vertical shift is with the y. All right, so let's take a look. All right, so let's go ahead and try this one. So let's go ahead and graph x plus 1 squared over 4 plus y minus 2 squared over 9 equals 1. Okay, so hopefully you recognize the equation. It's the equation of an ellipse. Okay, so we have a new center. Okay, it's going to shift from 0, 0. It's going to shift. It's going to go 1 to the left and 2 up. Okay. All right, but everything else is going to be the same. Okay, so when you graph this, hopefully you've gotten so used to doing the graphs when they're centered at 0, 0 that you don't even have to write down the information. You can just do them. Okay, so let's do the one where it's centered at 0, 0. So when it's centered at 0, 0, I have that, and then here, you know what? I'll do it in red instead. Okay, and I'll do the final one in black. Okay, so centered at 0, 0. X direction is going to be 2 in each direction. 1, 2. 1, 2. And the y direction, it's going to be 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and it's an ellipse, right? Supposed to be using red. Okay, so it's going to be an ellipse, but again, these points are going to shift. Okay, so I'm going to do the, I call this like the ghost ellipse because it's not our final answer. Okay, it's sort of like the parent one. And then we're going to go ahead and shift this. Okay, so this tells me that I need to shift 1 unit left. And this tells me that I have to go 2 units up. Okay, so let me get my black. Okay, so everything's going to shift 1 left, 2 up. Okay, so let me start with, I'll start with this one over here. 1 left and 2 up. Okay, so it's going to go right here. This one, 1 left and 2 up. This one, 1 left and 2 up. This one, 1 left and 2 up. Okay, and my center is 1 left and 2 up. There's my new center right here. Okay, so that's one way to do it. Okay, so my final parabola, ellipse is over there. Very sloppy. Okay, so that's one way to do it. You can do the parent one first and then move everything. Okay, the way I like to do it. Okay, so I know that my original one center is at 0, 0, right? And I know my center shifts 1 left and 2 up. So there's my new center. And then I just do everything there. Okay, instead of doing everything twice, I take my center and I shift it, and then I do the graph as if I were doing it centered at 0, 0. So I plot my new center, and then I do everything as usual. My x distance, I have to go 2 to the left and 2 right. 1, 2. 1, 2. My y distance, 1, 2, 3. I have to go 3 up and 3 down. 1, 2, 3. And so I get this. Okay, so I prefer to do it like that so I don't do all this work just to get one graph, okay? And so this is the method I'm going to be using. I'm just going to start with my center, move it, and then do everything that I normally would do centered at 0, 0. Okay. All right, let's take a look at this one. Let's go ahead and graph. Okay, so let's graph this one. Some of you guys may have forgotten how to complete the square. Okay, so I'll include some review videos on how to complete the square in case you forgot. Okay, so we only have the x being squared, so we know it's the parabola. So right over here, I need to complete the square. Okay, because standard form has it written like this, right? And we don't have it written like that. So we're going to try to get some binomial squared. Okay, and in order for us to do that, we have to do that process of completing the square. All right, so the way we do that, x squared minus 4x plus something equals 8y minus 28. Okay, but whatever we add on one side, you have to add on the other side. Okay, and the way you find this number, if you remember, you take half. And remember, you can only start the process of completing the square when this coefficient right here is 1. Okay, and it is, so we can go ahead and start the process. So to find this, we take half of 4 and square it. So it's going to be positive. Okay. So I take half of 4, which is 2, right? Half of 4, and we square it. It's always half of this and square it. Okay. So that is 2 squared that I'm actually adding on both sides, right? 4 divided by 2 is 2. All right, and that actually becomes x minus 2, because 4 divided by 2 is 2. Okay, so this automatically becomes this squared. X minus, if this were plus, this would be plus. So minus this number inside, or just half of this, 2. Okay, 8y minus 28 plus 4. Okay, so I have this side is done. This one, let's clean this one up. 8y minus 24. And remember, our standard form looks like this. Okay, so we need to factor out, okay, so that we can get this y plus or minus something. Okay, so whatever this is, that's whether it's a 7 and a negative 24, whatever that is, that's the thing you have to factor out. It just so happens that 8 can go into both of these numbers. Okay. All right, very good. So I can see what my shift is going to be. So this is going to be my parabola, and it's going to be the one that opens upward, and it's going to be the vertex at 0, 0 is going to be shifted 2 units to the right and 3 units up. Okay, so this tells me it's 2 units right, and this here tells me it's 3 units up. Okay, so let's go ahead and graph that. Okay, and here I can still find my p-value. 4p equals 8, so p equals 2. So my focus point and my directrix are going to be 2 units away from the vertex. Okay, so let's go ahead, and we know that the original vertex is at 0, 0, but we're going to shift it 2 right and 3 up. So this is now my new vertex. Okay. And I know that it's the open upward parabola. And I know that my focus is 2 units. 1, 2, inside here. And my directrix is 2 units below here. Okay. And if they ask you where is your vertex and your all the detailed information, vertex is at, we can see it's at 2, 1, 2, 3. My focus point, we can see it's at 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we can see that the directrix is the equation y equals 1. Okay. All right, let's take a look at another one where we have to complete the square. Okay, so let's go ahead and graph this one. 9x squared minus 72x minus 16y minus 32y equals 16. Oops, minus 16y squared. Okay, so can you put a square there? I missed it. Okay, so right here. That should be y squared. Okay, so we have x squared and we have y squared. One of them is positive, the other one is negative, so that tells me it's going to be the hyperbola. Okay? Yeah, so that's the giveaway. Okay? And the y squared is the negative, so we know it's going to be this one. Okay, so we know it's going to be that one. Okay, we have to get it to look like that, so we're going to have to do some completing the square for the x's and then also for the y's. Okay, so we have to complete the square here. And we are also going to have to complete the square here. Okay, and remember, you can only start the process when the coefficient of the squared term is 1. So we're going to have to fix that, okay, for both of them. All right, so let me bring the equation down here. 9x squared minus 72x, okay, minus 16y minus 32y equals 16. Okay, so I need to complete the square here. And I need to complete the square here. And remember, whenever I add on this side, and I'll be adding 2 things, I'm going to be adding something here and something here. So whatever I add on that side, I have to add on this side. Okay? All right. Now, before I can start the process, this needs to be 1. Okay? So that means, same thing with this. This needs to be a 1. Okay? So I need to factor these numbers out. Okay? So I'm going to start with this one. I'm going to factor out 9. Okay? And over here, I'm going to factor out negative 16. And that's how you're going to get your 1 for the coefficient. Okay? All right, so here I'm going to factor out a 9, and I get x squared minus 8x plus something. Very important that the plus something's inside that parentheses. Okay, and this one, we said we're going to factor out negative 16. See how I get 1 now? 1y. Oops, I forgot my square. Why do I keep forgetting the square? Okay. All right, y squared, negative 16 times positive 2 will give me negative 32. Okay. And then I have this here. Okay. Slow reaction. 16. Okay, so now we can go ahead and complete the square. Okay, so over here, I take half of 8, which is 4, and I square it. And here, I take half of 2, right? So here, I take half of 8, which is 4, and I square it. And for this one, I take half of 2, which is 1, and I square it. Okay, now here's the part where you need to be careful. We're not adding 4, we're not adding 16 and 1. Okay, we're not adding 4 squared and 1 squared, because when you look over here, this 16 is inside the grouping symbols. So this 16 is also being multiplied by this 9. Okay, so we're not adding 4 squared, we're actually adding 4 squared times 9. Okay, and then same thing with this. We're not adding 1 squared. This is inside the grouping symbols. So this is also getting multiplied by negative 16. So we're not adding 1 squared. We're adding negative 16 times 1 squared. Okay, so just be careful with that, especially when you're factoring out before you're completing the square. Okay. All right, so let's take a look at what we get. So here, this automatically becomes x minus 4. And this one becomes y plus 1. Okay. And over here, we end up adding 16 plus 9 times 16 is 144 plus negative 16. Oh, that makes it nice. These cancel out. These two cancel out. Okay. All right, so we get 9 x minus 4 squared minus 16 y plus 1 squared equals 144. Okay, but again, it needs to be set equal to 1. So I am going to divide everything by 144 to get 1. And I think we've seen this before. Okay, so the 9 and the 144 cancel, and we're left with x minus 4 squared over 16 minus the 16 and the 144 cancel, and we get 9. And now we get the 1. So now we can graph this. Okay, so now we can graph this. Yes, you have to go through all this to get this in standard form. And so we know it's the hyperbola with a horizontal transverse. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and graph this. Okay, so original is at 0, 0, but now we're going to shift it 4 to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 down. Okay, so here's my new center. Okay, and so now I just do everything off of this. So my x distance is going to be 4 on each side. So 4 this way, 4 this way, and then 3 up and 3 down. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. Okay. I got those from over here, right? So square root of 16 is 4. So I went 4 in both directions. Square root of 9 is 3. So I go 3 in both directions. Okay. Underneath X gives you the horizontal. Underneath Y gives you the vertical. Okay. Okay, so I'm trying to do this graph right here, right? Okay. So I need my box. Okay. So you do everything the same as if this were at 0, 0. Just find your new center and then do everything as usual. Okay. And so I know that it's the sideways one. Okay. And let's just label everything. Okay, so I can see here that my vertices are going to be, what is this one? This one over here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, -1. And this one over here is at 0, -1. Okay. Oh, let's get our foci distance. So for our foci, we know what c squared equals a squared plus b squared. Okay, so c squared is 16 plus 9. And so that is c squared is 25. So c is 5. So from the center, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And this way, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So my foci are at, well, that's 8. So that's going to be 9, -1. And this one is -1, -1. Okay. And then my asymptotes. Okay, so we're still kind of lucky here because we can see for the positive line, we can see what the y-intercept is. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, -4. Okay, so let's do the positive line first. So we're going to use this point, right? We're talking about this line right here. Okay, so I'm going to use this point over here. I'm going to rise 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to run 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so my first line, the positive line is going to be y equals, what was my slope? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. So positive 3/4 x. Y-intercept is down here at -4. So -4. Okay, let's do the other one. The negative, okay, I'll use green. Okay, so I'll use this point and this one over here. Okay, so, and here I see that my y-intercept is 2. So we know it's going to be y equals mx plus 2. Okay, so let's find out what our slope is. 1, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 4. So slope is -3/4. And my y-intercept is up here at 2, 1, 2. Okay. So there's all the information. Okay. All right. So that is pretty much it. Okay. So if again, we got a little lucky there because our rectangle, the corners of our rectangle fell on the y-axis. If you end up shifting it so much that, oh, your rectangle is now not anywhere near there, right? So if you end up with your rectangle not on the y-axis, right? And you have to find the equation of these lines, okay? You'll know this point and you'll know this point, okay? And so you're going to have to find the equation of the line given these 2 points. We covered that in chapter 1, okay? But I'll put another video in case you do have to do this and you've forgotten. You'll have to find the equation given 2 points. Find the equation given 2 points. You'll be able to count the slope, rise, run. Okay, so really you'll need to be able to find the equation given slope and a point. Okay, so I'll include 2 extra videos, one where you're given 2 points, one where if you know the slope, which you'll know it because you can count it, and a point. Okay, all right, if you have any questions, make sure you email me or message me. Okay, so that is it for chapter 11.